Hello and welcome to Soul's Compass Healing. My name is Brianne Lazinski and I am celebrating 1 year of Soul's Compass Healing being a thing out there in the world. I am a Pluto in the 4th house soul, so my career intimately transforms me and who I am. And while this journey has been a lot of things that I did not see coming, I would not trade it for the world. I want to take this opportunity to thank you for listening, creating these videos, and practicing with putting myself out there, putting my approach out there, has been a grounding cord for me. And it really does genuinely mean a lot that there are folks out there like you who are tuning in. And I genuinely would like to hear from you. I want to make this more of a conversation, more of a two-way street, so that I am not just talking on some weird wavelength that isn't really applicable, and so that I'm actually resonating and touching ground and landing with who I'm speaking with. So I'm going to be asking a few questions as I go through my spiel today. I want you to be writing your answers in the comments or emailing me. To touch base a bit more. So, another way that you can touch base and express your appreciation, if it's there, I don't know, I'm making a lot of assumptions, is to donate. I would really appreciate it. You can go to my webpage, it's linked in the description below. On there, you can also book with me. I offer what I call a support session, where I incorporate evolutionary astrology. I can incorporate an energy reading. And the intention is that it is all used in a way that is like a therapeutic support session, as opposed to what some people perceive going to see an astrologer is like this Hollywood going to the fortune teller and like gonna find out when this is gonna happen and when that's gonna happen and like when all my problems are gonna go away. And it's just, that's not realistic. So that's how I roll. I support people in where they're at, and I support them in acknowledging and seeing the unique nature for who they are. And so today we are talking about a Capricorn full moon on June 21st, 2024. And I want to open up by saying why I love a good old-fashioned Capricorn full moon so much. Because the sun and whichever symbols are conjunct the sun will automatically be in Cancer on a Capricorn full moon, right? And Cancer is a moon-ruled sign. So we have this extra emphasis on moon energy because it is the sun and that which is with the sun that illuminates this full moon, right? Without the sun, we wouldn't see the fullness of the moon. And so it is this acupuncture point, right? This happens at solstice time. Acupuncture point of poignant change. The moon is change. The moon changes signs, every few days. And so there's this, there can, generally speaking, with a Capricorn full moon, be this element of, all right, let's pull up our sleeves and let's get down to business and let's get to work. And it's also about, and let's take a look at the inner foundation, right? So this Cancer Capricorn axis is what I want to start this video off with. And I want to start it off with a question, and I would love for you to type into the comments what you think the answer might be. So my question is, what is a secure relationship? And secondly to that, I'm really interested if people know the answer to this, is with whom is the first relationship that we have in our lifetime that creates the blueprint for all of our relationships? With whom is that with? This relationship of co-regulating with somebody, that then those patterns that are embedded in that relationship then repeat throughout one's lifetime. With whom is that with? So those are my two questions to start off that I would be super interested to hear what you think. Yeah. I'll say a little bit about it, maybe drop a couple of hints, but the formation of our relationship patterns happens in a daily way that happens without us even needing to think about it, right? It's an automatic process how this is formed, and for it to be formed with the, I guess, security in relationship is on a spectrum, so I'll say that much. There isn't such a thing as, fully secure and fully insecure and whatever else. It's a spectrum. But in order to develop a secure relationship, there needs to be consistency and predictability, right? And when we think about Cancer, it is that sign that is consistency and predictability. The moon is super predictable. It changes signs every 3 days, and so we can anticipate these energetic shifts in the waters of our being every few days. And so our capacity in showing up for ourselves in a consistent and predictable manner is going to be equal to the strength of our foundation for how we show up in the world. Ta-da! There you have it, folks. Cancer Capricorn axis. I love it. And so it's yeah. Anyways, I'm gonna move on. Okay, I'll say one more thing. How we show up in the world is how we show up for ourselves inside. Is a reflection of how somebody, this question that I asked at the beginning of this, showed up for us in the beginning of our life. There we go. Another hint. Another hint. Let's see if maybe I should stop dropping hints. Yeah, I'll say more about that on the Cancer new moon. What I want to speak to is also the fact that this moon is balsamic, semi-sextile to Pluto. And then next month we have another Capricorn moon, which is actually going to be conjunct Pluto. And so when there is a balsamic energy, there is this letting go of what no longer serves us. Tends to be the spiritual lingo that we use. And it does make sense in a lot of ways when considering the Cancer Capricorn axis, right? The fact that Cancer, our ego, our firstly born baby child that is learning emotions and attaching meaning to things. This is what builds our foundation, and and it is comfortable in what is known, what is familiar. And the moment that something is interjected that is unfamiliar, unknown, uncharted territory, that's when Cancer is like, whoa, 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 what's going on here? I'm not so certain about this. And so that's how there can be this push-pull dynamic in the Cancer-Capricorn axis, where we can see what no longer serves us by how we interact with the world. And this is Capricorn, right? It's like, oh, I wish that I could just, stop bumping up into these problems all of the time, right? Repeatedly, repeatedly, repeatedly. And it always boils down to that blueprint of the inner self, of the inner child, of the it is the emotional realm, and it is so much more than that too. It's like knowing that emotions are an expression of how our nervous system is, right? And so when we say, I want to let go of something that no longer serves us, and we are struggling with that, it's a Cancer Capricorn dynamic that is not so easily solved if one doesn't see it as that, as seeing needing to go into the waters of oneself, and to make that change by really hand-holding the inner child. And so, what else do I want to say? Oh yeah, this moon is ruled by Saturn, of course. Saturn is stationing to go retrograde. Saturn will turn retrograde on July 29th. So whenever a planet is stationing, there is this amplification of its energy. And it is opposing Juno. And so this opposition is actually going to be exact either on the next new moon or the next full moon. But I'll just briefly speak to it now. And this is where we can be asking questions such as, can reality be discerned from fantasy in partnerships? Right? Like, when Juno is in the sign of Virgo, we have the partnership asteroid in the sign of Virgo, which is about focus, discernment, work, and so another question can be, who wants to put down the ice cream cone and do some work for the health of the relationship? Right, and this is reflected in a very objective way by that Saturn in Pisces, where it's like there needs to be some reality checking happening in terms with who we relate with on a really intimate level. So I'm talking about partnerships, marriages, right? If it continues to be surface level stuff, then the relationship will continue to surf on a surface level basis, and that's okay for people who choose that. But if people are finding that, with the energy of this full moon, it can be like, there's some work to do here, and it's not always an easy realization to make, and it's kind of echoed by we have Neptune also stationing. Neptune is going to turn retrograde on July 2nd. And at the time of this full moon, Neptune is exactly opposite Black Moon Lilith. So also in this, actually on the anaretic degree, the 29th degree of the Pisces Virgo axis. And so we is it square this moon? Yeah, it is. It is. So this Neptune Black Moon Lilith is square the moon, this full moon. And where was I going with this? Oh yeah, it's similarly echoing what I was speaking to just a moment ago, because it's like and this is not for everybody, right? This can be happening for some of us and for some of us not. But one energy that this can be bringing is this truth that taking off the rose-colored glasses is a life-changing event. You know, like, and you know, if there's people who want to keep the rose-colored glasses on because they like the sparkles and they like the way it makes them feel, cool, go for it. You know, I'm not here to preach down anyone's throat or to say that it needs to be like this or like that, right? We all have free will, we all have free choice. But I'm also going to say that if that is what's going on, perhaps there might be some dissonance involved with that, right? It's like, ooh, everything's sparkly, but I kind of feel dead inside, you know? It's like, okay, well, I mean, maybe that's a bit dramatic. Maybe it's like, oh, I just don't really feel happy. I don't know. And then that's up for you to work out, right? But what I really want to say is that this appetite to see things for what they are has to come from within you. Nobody can give that to you. You got to be hungry for it. Black Moon Lilith. You gotta want it with a ravenous desire, you know? And it is not easy, because with that hunger kind of comes this feeling of like, oof, and I gotta be ready for life to become a bit unhinged, or a lot unhinged, you know? And so, depending on where people are at in the spectrum, again, you know, I'm just kind of talking about two sort of polarized examples. But if you find yourself in the category of having the appetite to see reality and relationships for what it is, and removing the rose-colored glasses, I want to take a moment to witness you. It is not easy. And yeah, I'm here. I've walked this path. I may be of service if you feel like you need support. What else? So, all right. I am going to talk about, what am I going to talk about next? Okay, let's move into this moon being gibbous in conjunct Vesta at 0 degrees Leo. So this can be bringing up questions such as, what's going to be the new focus? What are you dedicating your life force to? So with Vesta, there is this element of dedication and focus. And with Leo, there is an element of life force, right? Of actualizing. And so with a Capricorn full moon, this also um, with its ruler Saturn stationing to go direct, it is an amplification of, and how is this going to be actualized, like for real, you know? And yeah, with, yeah, okay, I'll just leave it at that. Something else that I want to speak to is the fact that Chiron, who has been with the North Node for quite some time, right? We had that intense new moon solar eclipse in Aries at the beginning of April, which we are still living under the heavy wake of that, the reverberations of that. And so there's this sort of movement happening in the chart. Like if this is Chiron, there's the North Node is moving away from Chiron, as well as Mars is moving away from Chiron in opposite directions. And so what we've had for the last few months has been this new moon energy, which is very spontaneous and instinctual and very much in the unknown. And now what we have is Chiron is having a little bit of breathing room. Like it's like we're just entering that new phase territory with these symbols of the North Node and Mars, the ruler of the North Node, both entering new phase relationship with Chiron. And so this, and with Mars being in Taurus, which is a Venus-ruled sign, there is this opportunity to take a breather, right? That solar eclipse was like energy zapping, and it wasn't, this hasn't been the typical Mars on the North Node time because of Chiron there, right? It's been a wounded Mars coming into the realization of the collective, the wounded masculine. And so it's not like typical Mars, which is like, let's go trailblazing and, unfearfully go into the unknown and, just be free for the sake of being free. It's not been that. It's been bringing up all of the wounds that inhibit that from happening, right? It's been like you go to the forest to trailblaze and you've got a broken and bloody leg and you're like, how? I can't do this right now. It's not in me. I'm not physically capable to do this. And so with Mars in Taurus now, we can take this opportunity to give ourselves that breathing room, right? It's like it's okay if you can't constantly be marching in some trajectory and accomplishing something. It's okay. Let's take some time to feel into the body, Taurus, get to know through the sensations in the body and how they communicate to us what's going on and what our body needs so that we can get back up on that horse and go in the direction that we choose. And so, yeah, we need energy, and it's a time to experiment with what it is that our unique individual body may need in order to recover that energy, in order to find that life force, right? And with Venus, the ruler of our south node, in the sign of Cancer, as Mars is doing this action, as she's and she's also going to be squaring the moon's nodes on the 25th of June. And the integration point is the north node for this, right? There's always an integration point when a planet is square the moon's nodes. And so this again is echoing the need to tune into inside of our bodies, right? Give ourselves that motherly nurturance, care, and love as we experiment with attuning to ourselves to meet our own needs. And so this is what I see as necessary that we don't skip over in the time of this full moon, in the time of the next couple of weeks here, right? As this square to the nodes for Venus is happening. Of course, Mercury will be square the nodes too, so this has to do with, in my perception at least, I think that, well, I suppose one way of looking at it is that we are opening up the lines of communication within the self, right? To do what I was talking about, right? To attune to ourselves, to find out what we need to regain that energy in order to heal our wounds and move forward in our life. And this is all centered around relationships, right? This is what I'm talking about all the time because the moon's nodes are in the Aries Libra axis, right? So I think oftentimes in the world of relationships and in all of the tossing around of ideas that people have about relationships and how to make them work, and there's some really awesome stuff out there. And there's also a lot of or there can be a lot of focus on the other, right? And it's like, I really feel like what this time is saying is focus on you. You know, like you are the foundation for your relationships. How you are on the inside will directly influence your relationships. How you are on the inside governs how you show up in the world and how you relate. And so this is really the cardinal cross in the zodiac, super simplistic in my view, of that phenomenon, right? And so, yeah, take that time out, have a breather. You know, if you're somebody who has a hard time being alone, try it on for size for 30 minutes. I don't know. If you're somebody who is constantly or mostly alone and has a hard time branching out, well, use this alone time to be working on the foundation of who you are so that there is a natural progression, right? Like Mars moves because Mars wants to move, right? And so if we're not working on that inner foundation and expecting that relationships are going to fall out of the sky, like we're going to be waiting a long time and we're going to be really isolated. And so the key is to work on that inner foundation so that there's this natural, spontaneous desire to go and share yourself, right? And so this isn't going to happen overnight, right? Mars is just entering new phase with Chiron. We have had a moment in time, everybody, where we have realized that forgetting about the self in relationships has cost us a lot. Okay? So, what else? Sun in conjunct Pluto, exact on this full moon, is that, to actualize these changes, we must integrate what? Maybe that's another question. I could give you my take on it. What do you think? What do you think? Sun in conjunct Pluto. Pluto is retrograde at 1 degree Aquarius. What do you think we must integrate to really actualize these changes? Right, and we're really, it's balsamic to this moon, so we're really thinking about this because we're wanting to get really particular about what it is that is on its way out, right? What it is that no longer serves. All right, what have I talked about? What have I missed? I don't know. I think that's everything, actually. Yeah, that's a wrap, folks. Thanks so much for listening. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you writing in the comments. Happy summer solstice. And yeah, take care.